So you can imagine me freaking the fuck out when I saw this movie in theaters because I had watched the 90s X-Men series. X-Men Evolution was either just starting to come out or I think I watched this first, then X-Men Evolution. But to see Wolverine battling Sabretooth, seeing Rogue, but honestly, not the Rogue that I was used to up until that point. I kept wondering why she wasn't flying throughout the whole movie when I first watched it, and then I got the whole backstory that was going on. It's just like, oh, okay, Mystique was dangerous in this movie and very, very naked. That was a plus. It's just like, look, most people will be like, oh, I'm not a furry. I'm sorry, look. Mystique is a full-on reptilian woman. There's some element of being a furry that's involved in that. Jean Grey just felt like you had taken her straight up out of the animated series or the comics or whatever. Same with Cyclops, and then they had the love triangle too with, Scott, Jean, and Wolverine, and it was just like, what? Toad, well, we found out what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning. Such a weird line. It's just like, yeah, of course. But this was an all-star cast, especially the roles of Xavier and Magneto, Sir Patrick Stewart, and Sir Ian McKellen were absolutely fantastic. And the repertoire that they had between each other, like, dude, these two old men knew exactly how to play these characters with the gravitas and the love and care that's between them. Two good old friends who loved each other at one point but had a difference of opinion that just tore them apart irrevocably, but they still cared for each other to some degree and deeply wished that they could just see eye to eye on some level, but you knew they never would. They never compromise on their morals because lives were at stake, damn it. It was just so surreal because it was the first time it suddenly felt like the comic books had come to life. And the plot lines, I mean, dude, all you really needed was them fighting Sentinels and it would have been perfect. But given the technology of the 2000s, yeah, probably good idea not to go with that, but the set piece of them fighting at the Statue of Liberty was still cool. And their kidnapping of Senator Kelly and all the things that went on with him, and the Mutant Registration Act, which is what ultimately would herald in the Superhuman Registration Act and all that. So I'm glad one came before the other in terms of the movies as well, because a lot of the deeper storytelling of Marvel came from two sources. Most of the time, it was X-Men and Spider-Man. And, it made sense that they were the ones who really had the solid stuff beforehand. Sucks that couldn't happen with the Fantastic Four, but baby steps and all that good stuff. But seeing the Xavier Institute and how that was fully realized, and being introduced to Rogue, and honestly having her being given a true name for the first time, because I think up until that point in the comics, they hadn't solidly given her an actual name, which ultimately ended up being Anna Marie, and because of that, that's why they gave her a completely different name in the movies, which was like Marie something. Like, this was the first movie to really solidly play on the drama that was in the comics. Because the drama was there, man. It was there. Comics have so much drama in them. And it's just like, look, all you really have to do is just adapt it. It's all there for you. Take it. and the connection that they gave between Wolverine and Rogue and all that good stuff, because Wolverine has always had a habit of picking up strays. Papa Wolverine, because it always happens. And if I remember from the comics, they didn't quite have that relationship in the comics originally, but the relationship there was really great in terms of a lot of the animated series, and they continue to have that in a lot of follow-up animated series like Wolverine and the X-Men. I said a lot of follow-up series. There was only one more X-Men animated series, and then the X-Men anime, which well, actually, the X-Men anime was probably the best out of the Marvel anime series. Regardless, Storm, played by Halle Berry, was, despite some weird lines, was really spot on. Same thing with James Marsden, who super underrated. James Marsden played the hell out of Cyclops, and I wish they had given him a little bit more. The proto Brotherhood of Evil Mutants that we were introduced to was pretty fun. I wish we could have gotten like a few more of them involved, but it was good enough. You had the more notable ones. And I guess Blob would have been a little bit awkward. Even in Origins Wolverine, it was kind of awkward to have Fred Dukes. But I think you could have put Avalanche or maybe even Pyro in there. Come on. But yeah, this movie was absolutely fantastic. Like, the most solidly done way you could have possibly done an X-Men movie, a live-action X-Men movie of the time. And it really helped that they did it with the less visually overpowered characters, with the only one who had to go through extensive makeup being, and man was this notable, Rebecca Romijn in that Mystique outfit. And it's not only that it's like super sexy, but it's also the fact that it's just like you had to go through hours of makeup. Hours. Not to mention all the little prosthetic pieces they put over her, the contacts that she had to wear, which were probably itchy as all crap. I just cannot imagine just having all of that just plastered all over my body and just being told to act for who knows how long. I mean, the way they visualized Wolverine's claws too, they just looked so good in the movie. And dude, the way the movie opens up with the backstory of Magneto in friggin' Auschwitz, like, man, that it was, because I was so young at the time and I had never really been told about stuff like that, to find out what happened to the Jewish people through this movie, it completely reworked the way I thought about a lot of things. Because it's just like, oh my god, I can't believe they did this to people. It's just like, yeah, 9-year-old me, you're in for a rough ride about history after this point. It was some shit, though. It's unfortunate that they up and kind of killed off Senator Kelly, though, because there was so much more you could have done with Senator Kelly and had him remain a presence, but what they kind of did towards the end between him and Mystique, it was good enough. It was a good stinger for the end of things. It was so solid. It was really solid. I continue to be impressed with the way this film went. And despite a lot of the controversy around Bryan Singer, I'm definitely, let me not get into all of that. But regardless, it was a good film. I can't deny that. And it was a great memory. Going to the movies and watching this movie, I still remember this movie in theaters and just being like, what the what? Because I never really thought of superheroes outside of actual cartoon and comics. Not really. I always kind of, I could see with Batman and Superman, of course, but anything beyond those characters seemed like, oh, that's never going to happen. No one would ever be that popular. And then X-Men came along and it was just like, oh my god, this changes everything. It wouldn't change everything for like almost a decade, but regardless, still great stuff. But that's enough of me gushing. Tell me, do you remember going to see the X-Men in theaters? What did you think? How did you feel? This was like the first big team superhero movie that really worked. At least from my perspective, maybe you didn't enjoy it. Maybe by today's standards you think it's terrible. Let me know in the comments section below, and if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.